Tira, so good is so good, so compatible. Jai Sripad Bhakti Sri Rupi Kanas Maharaj Ki Jai Raman Puru Ki Maharaj, please take this. You're a singer, right?
Huh?
You sing. You know that.
Yeah.
Do you know how to sing this song?
But I'm just still learning. Give me some more days.
Nariya Udaya Giri Puna Chandra Gaura Hari. Anyway, we'll get to that in a moment. Once at the Mat, someone unexpectedly got a particular service, and one devotee gave the explanation. He said, Mahaprabhu wants to give everyone a chance. And what to speak of Nityananda, even more chances. And Prabhu, turn my chair. See, here's where everybody is. Turn my chair this way. Yes, okay. Hare Krishna. So, we mentioned our Guru Varga, Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Gurudev, Srila Prabhupada, and those familiar with the Krishna consciousness movement. So, yeah. He can be this way, because I'm talking, you need to look at me. Sorry. Move that chair that way, so he's not bending his neck. Right. So I mentioned 39 years ago, I, on the order of Srila Guru Maharaj, flew to Manila, the Philippines, to connect Sripad Bhakti Sri Rup Vaikanas Maharaj with the lotus feet of Srila Guru Maharaj. And we had been involved in the Krishna consciousness movement for some time. Even that very name is created by Srila Prabhupada. So, and Guru Maharaj, we take it for granted. Of course, it's Krishna consciousness. But someone had, if you look in the writings of Srila Saraswati Thakur, I don't think you will find that phrase, Krishna consciousness. Like Krishna consciousness. Really, Srila Prabhupada coined that term. And Guru Maharaj, he is telling Krishna consciousness. That landed well with Srila Guru Maharaj, who pointed out, like if you say, there's the word Chaitanya, but also Chaitanya. So Sri Krishna Chaitanya also means Sri Krishna consciousness. So when Mahaprabhu, at his sannyas, the conventional names are like Tirtha, Ashram, Puri, there's 10 principal sannyas names. Some people believe there's only 10, but Saraswati Thakur revealed 108. And that's a whole other subject matter, the interpretation. It's like Van, Vrindavan, Van, the forest. So you're leaving family and city and going to the forest. So there's Van or Ban Maharaj, that idea. But, Guru Maharaj's way of seeing things, all right, so Van, forest, that's a general term. Which Van? What forest? So you say Vrindavan. So when you look at a name and you see that Van indicating Vrindavan. So like Kusum ashram. What is a Kusum? I mean, we know, Kusum Sarovara. Right? So when Guru Maharaj would interpret these names, they reveal, like Srila Janardhan Maharaj, Bhakti Pavan, who's connecting with and distributing Radha Dasyam, making that connection. That's Guru Maharaj's idea of, savior. Right? So, and in writing they always say prefer the specific to the general. So, there are all those names. Tirtha, the number one sannyasi is generally given Tirtha. Right? That's the first sannyas name. Right? So you see Srila Gurudev, who knows all these things, when he gives sannyas to Guru Maharaj's disciple, Prapanna Krishna Prabhu, he names him Tirtha Maharaj. There's a reason, because that's his first, he's Tirtha Maharaj. So generally the Tirtha is like the most prominent one. And then Ashram, these other names are there. We see also, out of respect to our Guru Varga, we do not give, like there's middle name, there's Bhakti, the middle name, and then the sannyas name. The middle name is always supposed to be 3 akar, syllables. So mine technically, for example, is Su-di-ra. Bengalis will say Sudir. Gurudev's name technically is Sundara. Sundar we name, but Sundara, Kusuma, Pavana, Ananda. There's a system established by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur and followed by Srila Guru Maharaj. And then a sannyas name is selected. So many things to consider. What is that person's Purvashram name, what they were known as? In his case, I'm just telling you, So his name was Rupa Vilas. So I took the Ru, Sri Rupa, his name was and Vaikanas. And with some understanding of Sri Rupa, which should be obvious, but it's like, I realize this is one of the greatest middle names of all time, Sri Rupa, which if you look in a dictionary, they'll say, that means Srimati Radharani. Sri Rupa, the beauty of Sri, the divine form of Sri, Mahabhav Swarupini Radha Thakurani. Or Sri Rupa Manjari, the leader of all, and, our supreme leader, Sri Rupa. And Vaikanas, name of Vishnu, Krishna, and I'm saying Krishna's hidden. We know he hides in the kunja sometimes. So he's a little hidden in this name, right? But I like that. That means from a hidden position, he's viewing Sri, the Rupa of Sri, the beauty of Sri, and her assistant, Sri. You can go on and on in this way, in Guru Maharaj's line of interpretation. So when Keshava Bharati is going to give the sannyas name to Nimai Pandit, he doesn't give he's a Bharati, so he should name him something Bharati. Or at least, the Tirtha, one of those. Preferably a Bharati, something Bharati. And that tells you who your guru. Oh, Keshava Bharati, yes, he is my sannyas guru. But so he is ready to, and he's saying, you have a name, and your name could only be this, Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Because Krishna Chaitanya, you're distributing Krishna consciousness. You're the personification of Krishna consciousness, and you're in your distribution mode. So your name is Sri Krishna Chaitanya, and we're just now celebrating that. Like when Indra Deve Varshati Yagya Viplava Rusha, that when he's saying Priyana Indrogavan. So he's looking at Krishna after his aparad, been dating Govardhan, and he's saying, I'm Indra. Indra means king. The Indras, they actually have names. So he's saying, I'm Indra, but you're also Indra. You're Indragava, the king of the cows. Who would think that the Supreme Personality of Godhead would be, disguised as a ill-mannered cowherd, right? So it says in the beginning about Muhyanti Yatsuraya, even the God, like saying, look, if you're going to try and understand Krishna conception, don't feel bad. Even the gods are bewildered in trying to understand. So if you're a little bewildered or puzzled at times, you're in good company. Indra Mohan, he was bewildered. And who's the other one? Brahma Vimohan. So Brahma, Indra, and even Shiva in the Mohini Murti pastime. So and it was announced that in any good book, the great books, they give it away either in the title, the first sentence, the first paragraph. Fitzgerald in Great Gatsby, what does he say in the first paragraph? Reserving judgment is a matter of infinite hope. And then he tells the story. But that's the money quote. Reserving judgment is a matter of infinite hope. Orwell, 1984. The clock struck 13. So many things can be extracted from there. So then, if that's the observable pattern, then how does the Bhagavatam start? Janmadyasya yataha. Janmadyasya tonbayad itra, it's starting explanation. Nirmatsaranam satam. Only the non-envious will be able to understand. You say, no, just give me the information. If it was data transfer, you have this data, transfer the data to another device or receiver. You say, no, this isn't a data transfer. Tene Brahma Hrida, into the heart. Gurudev likes to say, it is a heart-to-heart transaction. That means, like people know in the world, I love you. Right? You listen, I like the Spanish songs and corazón. They always, like the core. Right? And any Spanish love song is going to have the word corazón in some variant there. Right? And all the languages, they have that. Right? But everyone knows, you say, if there's a relationship, and do you love me? Yeah, I love you. No, not like that. Do you love me? There was a cartoon in the New Yorker where the husband has his head buried in the newspaper, and the caption reveals the wife asked him a question. And so he's got his head buried in the newspaper. To answer a question, he didn't move his head, and the caption says, what do you mean by love? So that we can understand, his wife said, do you love me? And his answer is, what do you mean by love? It's reached that stage. So just saying, I love you, anyone can say that, and we know people often do, and particularly when they want to get something, right? They're men, all men are liars. They say, I love you, to get something. So it's, what is the spirit with which that is said? And if it's said with the right spirit, it may not even be said properly. Maybe the person's so choked up with emotion, they can't even say it. Right? Like Mahaprabhu, in the mood of Srimati Radharani before dying, he can't say some things. Right? He's trying, he can't say Jagannath. He's going, I told Bhaktivinoda Thakur that kirtan with Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj on Ekadashi, he records in Kalyana Kalpataru, and he's saying, Babaji Maharaj starts experiencing waves of divine ecstasy, detectable upon his divine form, and then transfers it to everyone. And then they're all crying and shivering at his mercy. He transferred his ecstasy to them. And Bhaktivinoda said at that point, they couldn't hit the kartal. They're going, now they're just, and they're falling on the ground and can't hit the mridanga, and they can't say anything. Right? So the spirit with which it's given, that is all important. So good, heart-to-heart transaction. Tene Brahma Hrida. From the heart, Krishna is not heartless. Right? God is not heartless, not some abstract, impersonal whatever. He would be heartless, right? To not care so many fallen souls. So from his heart, and it's all sequenced, from the heart of Krishna, right? Ahang bhakta paradino hyasvan tantra ivadvija. Although it's mentioned in the beginning of the Bhagavatam that he is Swarat. Guru Maharaj like to say Hegelian, by himself, for himself. That sounds selfish. Right. He's by himself and for himself. Yeah, me too. Maybe not. You're finite, he's infinite. Well, if he can be selfish, I can be selfish. That's true. You have that option. But is your selfishness good for anyone other than yourself? Maybe it's not even good for yourself. His selfishness is the absolute good. When he wants something, it's good for everybody. Right? And Gurudev liked to say, and the Parakiya Bhav, remember, it's with which Vrindavan is saturated. People say, oh, that means Madhura rasa. It includes Madhura rasa, but all of the rasas. How? What's the example? That the cowherd boys, after so many miraculous things have happened, they say, there are people, they say Gopal is not one of us. You know, what? Our Gopal? Yeah, that he's like a demigod, or some people say he's God himself. Are we talking about our friend Gopal? Yes. Who talks so much nonsense and does so many naughty things. Yeah. What do these people know? They don't know Gopal like we do. And Mother Yasoda is saying, hears that there's rumors that Krishna is not her son, that he may be the son of Vasudeva and Devaki. Right? Not untrue. And see, but what is that to her? Vicious rumors started by envious people. And they're saying, he's not my son. And what do they have to say? He's a god, or he's God himself. Just so I have this wonderful son, and they're making up all these stories about him. Right? So there's one place where they're saying, well, aren't we supposed to make propaganda in favor of Krishna conception? You know, that he's the supreme and all of that. Not if you're around Mother Yasoda. Not then. You know, hold your tongue. She doesn't want to hear any of this Supreme Personality of Godhead stuff. Right? She's with her boy, right? Who she loves dearly. And we saw it, remember in that movie, Life of Pi? I went to see Life of Pi in Shenzhen with the Chinese and you know, I know nothing about what's going on there, but we're in this mall, and when it gets near the time, suddenly there's like 2,000 people for a theater that seats 500. And I look at, we feel like full, I look at Mookie and they go, Maharaj, go to Starbucks and wait for us. Which I happily agreed to. So I'm waiting, and what they did is they buy tickets from scalpers. That's the only way you can get in. And we're there in the 3D glasses, and when the 3D fish come on the screen, the people go, ooh, ah. And they also talk during the movie like, uh-oh, he's in trouble now. You know, like people are saying stuff. Very sweet. But if you remember in the movie, the Bengali telling the story, he says, I'm going to tell you a story that will make you believe in God. And then the rest of the thing unfolds, and maybe people forget that he said that in the beginning. But that's the key thing. I'm going to tell you a story that will make you believe in God. And fast forward, when it comes time, these Japanese agents of a Japanese insurance company, they're interviewing him to see if he has a legitimate claim. And he tells them the original true story. And they say, that's unbelievable. We can't give money for that. Who's going to believe that? And then he goes, all right, because when I saw the story, I go like, what's going on here? He goes, let me tell you another version of the story. And then he goes through it again. Ang Lee, you know, he's master director. And he tells this story in a believable way. And they go, all right, that we can believe. Yeah, all right, okay, you know, fill out the sign here and you can expect to receive something from us. And then he says to them, of the two stories I told you, the unbelievable one and which one do you prefer? And they go, oh, we like the unbelievable one. Right? So theists are those who like the unbelievable story of God. Right? Achintya. Jiva Goswami, achintya. You have to, if you're going to deal with Krishna conception, the default position is achintya. Because you're dealing with that, in other words, you're trying to conceive that which is inconceivable. So that's a fool's errand. Right? But, as Guru Maharaj told that man, if the infinite cannot not make itself known to the finite, he's not infinite. So it's a fact. We concede, atak Shri Krishna namadi nabhavyed grahyam indriye. He's beyond the grasp and view of our senses, our mind, and our intellect. The nama, rupa, guna, and lila. The nam, Krishna nam, form, young Shama Sundaram, what? Achintya guna swarup. When Pranashish naughtily asked me in Bila Govinda, you know, like he's a devotee forever, and then we're the son of, and I go, any questions? He goes, yes. And I go, oh, Pranashish, and he goes, why is Krishna blue? I'm like looking at him like, oh. So I like tried to keep my composure, and I thought there must be some good, but here, I went, oh, Shama Sundar Achintya Guna Swarup. First of all, it's an inconceivable blue. Shyam. Like we're told Thailand, Siam, Shyam. Just think, the country we're in is called Shyam. And it's also beautiful. So you could say, where we live is Shama Sundar Desh, or Shama Sundar land. Right? Really, you could say that. And I probably will. Oh, I just did. But so, achintya guna swarup, saying, when you hear these things, like Attasi flower, or and the artist made so many paintings under the guidance of Srila Prabhupada and Bhardraj Prabhu. He composed everything, and the artist executed his compositions, more or less. And so someone asked Prabhupada, is this really what Krishna looks like? And Prabhupada said, not exactly, but you will recognize him when you see him. Or more to the point, when you are seen by him, he will give you the capacity to see him. So Guru Maharaj says we present ourselves to be seen by the deities. Everyone thinks darshan means to go see the deities, and that's a given. But more to the point from Guru Maharaj, he's saying, that's why you make tilak, bathe, and look nice and everything. You're presenting yourself to the deity. right? Who has the capacity to see your swarup, right? We do not have that capacity. So Guru said, our capacity is very limited. Like he said in the case of Jagannath, we see an awkward figure, he put it that way, right? But Jagannath, when you're at Jagannath Rath Yatra, I saw he's on the cart and you see him going like this. He is looking at everyone and they're being bathed in his divine glance. So, Achintya Gunaswarup, inconceivable form of Krishna. So the Bhagavatam, I'm saying that first line must have everything in it. The first, Janmad Yasya Yataha. That was in Vedanta, but Vedanta is really abstract. Vedanta Sutra, these almost like non sequiturs. Anavriti Shabdat, by sound you'll be liberated. What sound? Liberated from what? Therefore you need a commentary. But so Veda Vyas, in one sense, that's why it's his. The Bhagavad, why the Vaishnavas never made a Vedanta comment. They say to be a bona fide Sampradaya, you have to have a Vedanta Sutra commentary, and you guys don't have one. And Paramananda Prabhu knows all the Baladeva Vibhushan and Govinda Bhasya and all of that, which is worth hearing. But the reason I didn't have one is the Bhagavad Purana is our commentary on Vedanta. It begins with the slogan, Janmad Yasya Yataha. And Vishwanath Chakrabarti, ever our savior when it comes to these things. So it says ostensibly, Janma Adi. And it's like birth or creation, maintenance, annihilation. Janma Adi. Yasya is coming from him. So that's really abstract too. But the Bhagavatam is going to flesh that out in divine form. But so Vishwanath, he says, this Adi, which generally means like etc., he said, is a reference to Madhura rasa. And it's saying that everything springs out of Madhura rasa. So Srila Guru Maharaj says, all the other rasas are satellites or clients of Madhura rasa and necessary. Just like to appreciate the sweet, it'll be most appreciable if first you had the bitter, and then the fried, and then the this, and then the that, and the sour, and all after all those things. Then when you have the sweet, it's most relishable. So you need all these others, they're satellites, clients. That's Guru Maharaj's words. So he's saying this Adi is a reference to Adi Rasa, Mukhya Rasa, the principle, the fountainhead of everything, Madhura Rasa. And this makes sense, right? Because even we can understand in a general sense, the supreme male, supreme female, everything comes from them. It's like Adam and Eve on steroids, right? You have the supreme male, supreme female, and everything is going to come from them. Yin, yang. Krishna is yang, the predominating moiety, the predominating half, and his better half, I like to say, is Srimati Radharani. And everything's coming from them. From Radharani, all the gopis, and then the Mahishigan, Dwaraka queens, and the Lakshmis of Vaikuntha, and then their shadow representations, the goddesses of this world, right? On that side. On the other side, Krishna, and then his Purusha avatars, Guna avatars, Lila avatars, as innumerable as the waves of the ocean. And this way, everything's coming from them. So, and that means Parakiya Bhav is not optional, secondary, auxiliary. It's the source of everything. And if we say heart-to-heart transaction, so who can conceive of the heart of Srimati Radharani? But first we should say, when I said Ahang Bhakta, that verse, and Sarva Hridayam Bahyam, It's interesting. One, Saraswati Thakur, Kripaya Hari Kirtana Murti Dharam. He's Hari Kirtan, Krishna Kirtan personified. We're always incessantly talking about Krishna. One evening, he's exhausted. And a man asked the question, like, okay, what is a sadhu? You know, Saraswati Thakur like, ask Guru Maharaj, you answer. So Guru Maharaj starts explaining, but Saraswati Thakur wanted to take, hearing Guru Maharaj, he wanted to take it in another direction, and I found it charming that 50 years later, Guru Maharaj is saying, but I was going to get there, see, I was going to, but Saraswati Thakur stopped, and then he started explaining his way, and Guru Maharaj said, I was going to get to that, but first I was going to, do some other things. But saying that, like we say, the great yogis, but let's just cut to the chase, devotees, they're thinking of incessantly in their hearts, Krishna's there at play in their hearts. Right? And Krishna's not alone. Right? Radha, Krishna, Lalita, everything. Krishna in isolation, Vasudev Sarvamiti. But Guru Maharaj said, Everest, highest peak of the Himalayas from a distance, but as you focus on that highest peak, the proof positive that you're coming nearer is you come in connection with those subordinate peaks that are surrounding Everest. Like that, he's saying. So, the devotees in their hearts, they're always carrying the personality and God in their hearts. We told it the other day, Bhagavata, Tirtha Bhuti Swayambhu Vibho, Tirti Kurbanti Tirtani Svanstaktena Gadabrita. Narada, Vyas, and then saying, you are holy places personified. In fact, wherever you go, then the touch of your lotus feet, you're carrying the personality of Godhead in your heart. Bhavad Vidha Bhagavatas, the Bhagavats. So if they stay somewhere for a while, it's a holy place. And those Buddhist monks, they know when they met Gurudev, you can see the joy on their face, and they know they're with a Maha Bhagavat. So wherever he goes, that place becomes worshipable. So, why am I saying this? That Narada, Vyas, heart. So, the devotees are carrying the Lord in their heart. Literally, metaphorically. Right? Like Prabhupada, once I gave this class in Los Angeles, and I said something, and at the end, one devotee goes like, where'd you read that? In one of those Gaudiya Math books? And I said, it's actually in a purport of Srila Prabhupada in the 4th canto. Might want to take a look at it. But I understand why they questioned it. Because Prabhupada says, although their voice may sound like a voice of this world or whatever, he said, and it's clear in his voice, the voice of Gurudev and the voice of Guru Maharaj. He said, their voice is actually saturated with saffron mercy particles touching the lotus feet of Krishna. When they say anything, what to speak of when they're saying divine things. So Gurudev, sometimes his voice in one sentence could go from deep male to upper register female. Very peculiar. I told you earlier today, Prabhupada, when he's going, Tada rajas tamo bhava kamaloba dayaste cheta tayar anavidam satve stitam satve prasidati. But he goes, stitam satve prasidati. And it's like he's chewing on a nectar lozenge or something. He's relishing this. His voice is saturated with the saffron mercy particles from the lotus feet of Krishna. Right. So that sort of heart, when that heart expresses something, how real and divine it is. But then we say, but what about the heart of Krishna? You just said he's not heartless. As the devotees think of him, what's he thinking about? He's got all these, you mentioned Purusha avatars, Guna avatars, they're doing all the work. He's got a lot of time, free time on his hands. What's he thinking about? Or in his private moments, what is he thinking about? So, Govinda Balabhe Radhe Partye Tomahang Sada. Srila Guru Maharaj and Sri Guru in his grave says, she is, Govinda Nandini, Govinda Balabha, Govinda Balabhe Radhe Partye Tomahang Sada. Saying, she is the queen of the heart of Govinda. He's thinking of her. When we went to get Radha Govinda Sundar with Vidagdha Madhava Prabhu and Jaipur, and you're there and you're seeing all these deities and you just really start losing your mind because you don't know if it's them or your mind, or, saying, worship me, become my and like, it's not easy. And we're looking at deities all day, then at night you're dreaming about deities and you're trying to interpret all of this, like what's going on here? And you see, when they make a deity, carve one, they start with like what is it called, obelisk, like a rectangular column. And Mr. Pandey, the master, he has like tailor's chalk kind of thing, and he just goes, and these men come in with sledgehammers and chisels and go, and then you have some kind of nebulous shape. Then they call him over and he comes back with his chalk and goes, and another level of men come in with more precise tools, and they go, and they do that. Then they call him again, and you say, oh, it's kind of going, and then he goes, and then they do it more and more, and I'd say, when his next level below him finishes, the untrained eye would think that you're looking at a finished deity. And it's then, and then only, as they say, that Mr. Pandey picks up his tools and starts. Eyes, face, expression, those things. So we're going with him. He's very jolly, divine soul, and I see this one Krishna who just looks really different than all the other ones, and I say like, Mr. Pandey, like this, I don't even know what to say, but like he can see, and he starts looking at it. He is lost in thoughts of Sri Radhika playing his flute. That was his answer. I accepted his answer. Lost in thoughts of Sri Radhika playing his flute. As Guru said, Gayatri Murlista, Kirtanandanam, Radhapadam, what is Krishna fluting about? The Holy Lotus Feet of Radharani, that's his favorite song. So she is in the heart of Krishna. And her extended Ananda Chanmaya Rasa Pratibhavitavis Tabirya Eva Nija Rupataya Kalavi Goloka Eva Nivasatya Kilatma Bhuto Govinda Madhipurisham Tamaham Bhajami. As Krishna has his extensions, she has hers. She's not alone either. If he's thinking of her in her heart, that means Lalita Vishaka, Rupa Rati, everyone. So, from that Krishna heart, he's playing his song. lost in thoughts of Srimati Radharani, he's playing his flute. And Brahma hears that, and his verbal realization of what he heard orally is Om Bhur Bhuva Svat Tat, etc. That's why Gurus can extract from there Radha Dasyam. And by the way, no one has done that since Brahma heard the sound of Krishna's flute. That is original wealth from Guru Maharaj. When someone would say, well, what's the difference here? What are you giving the Prabhupada's not, that kind of stuff, which is really thoughtless and careless. So Guru Maharaj told me once, here's his veranda and there's a little bridge that goes to the top of the Nat Mandir. Guru Maharaj told me to put a chair over there so no one can hear this discussion. Why didn't he just do it in his room or on his veranda? But he told me, so I take a chair and go across the walkway, the bridge, put the chair there, cushions and everything, and Guru Maharaj never would, he walks over. Govinda Maharaj would have a fit if he knew about that. That little bridge up there, it's like this wide. Guru Maharaj walks over, sits in the chair and tells me to bring the ISKCON man. And then he explains his Gayatri, where he extracts Radha Dasyam from the Brahmagayatri. It's unique, since it entered the 8 ears holes of Brahma. That's what he gave him, at least the chance to appreciate that. So, if Krishna is fluting about the holy lotus feet of Srimati Radharani, and that enters the 8 ear holes of Brahma, and that. And someone was saying about can women have a position? And I'm saying all of our leaders are women. The supreme woman, Srimati Radharani, then Lalita Vishaka, Rupa, they're all women, they're all female. Who gave Brahma the mantram? Saraswati, Dibya Saraswati. It says that in Brahma Samhita. Because once the artist wanted to do some picture and they asked Guru Maharaj about her, and Guru Maharaj goes like this, he goes, she is riding a white swan. Like he looked. That Saraswati, she initiates Brahma. So in one sense, the head of the line, just for the sake of argument, or to make people puggle, the head of the line is female. What does what do you know about Krishna consciousness if you don't know that the supreme leader of Krishna consciousness is the supreme female? Right? Mahaprabhu is not auxiliary, secondary, an afterthought. It's everything. And who is Mahaprabhu? Krishna under the influence of Srimati Radharani. That's who Mahaprabhu is. So, that Brahma, and what does it say? Hearing, Kling Krishnaya Govindaya Gopijana Balabhaya Swaha, from Dibya Saraswati. And he said, he realizes, I am a gopi. Like that's my swarup. Swarupena vibhastiti. And I'm a gopi. But I'm currently four-headed and sitting atop a giant lotus flower with some seva to do. So it says, so he realized I'm the eternal maidservant of Krishna, but the mysteries of that were not fully revealed at that time. That's what it says. And that's the way it works too. Prabhupada, work now, samadhi later. You try, go for this. All you get is rotten fruit, right? Can't touch that divine substance. Right? So it's now fully dedicate yourself in service, and then that'll be realized when you go to heaven. Right? So it says, he realized he is a gopi, but the full mysteries of that would be realized later. And then he Manasaputras, planets, everything, and he's the head of the Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya Sampradaya. And Brahma Madhva Sampradaya, they are comfortable with Vatsalya rasa, right? But not Madhura rasa, and for obvious reasons. Right? So there's so many people in India, they like Gopal and Maya Yashoda with Gopal, and Krishna's past, they don't want to talk about it or say anything about it, and that's probably good. Right? So it's beyond their capacity. Doesn't mean they're not spiritual or substantial, they are. But this is so high, so exalted, so extraordinary, and on account so likely to be misconceived, they just don't deal with it. Enter Madhavendra Puri. Remember also, Krishna is in Krishna world, hankering for the Radharani experience. Yuga Avatar's time is coming. But in this particular one, remember, for Brahmaratri Sahasra Yuga Parjantam Ahoryat Brahmanovidu, once in every 4,300,000,000 years, Swayam Bhagavan comes. Other Bhagavans, other avatars, but Swayam Bhagavan, the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, comes. And then the Kali Yuga that follows, Swayam Bhagavan Mahaprabhu, Avatar Sar, Gaura Avatar. But before he comes, Guru Varga must appear. So just like before you're born, you have to have mother and father. They're Guru Varga also. But auntie, uncle, who's Guru Varga? Advaita, Nityananda, so many others, Pundarik Vidyanidhi, they must all appear. Hare Krishna. And Madhavendra Puri, what I told, we know his story, the vision of Gopal and Govardhan, installation of Gopal, and that just tells you, he was already Gopal. So they just had a festival presenting him to the public. It's not like he became Gopal. He was already Gopal. And then he sends him on the mission. If ever there was a man on a mission from God, it's Madhavendra Puri. And he goes and collects the chanda and the sandalwood, and then when he reaches Remuna, where he got the cure from Gopinath, so Gopinath's name became enhanced, Kirchor Gopinath. And that makes Krishna very happy. Who celebrates a thieving God? We do. And also, like, how can God steal anything? Everything is his. So then you understand, it's a play. He likes to play like that. So when he comes back through, again, Gopal saying, oh, me and Gopinath, same. You give the chandan and karpur to Gopinath, and I'll get some relief. And this is a build-up for what's about to occur at the end, where Mahaprabhu turns, he's telling the story, like, I heard this from my guru. And Nityananda, everyone, they're there, like, listening. They are. They're listening with great eagerness and joy to hear these things. Just imagine their level of interpretation and taste. And Mahaprabhu says to Nityananda, who should know, he says, is there anyone more fortunate than Madhavendra Puri? I mean, he's kind of looking at him, but like, is there anyone, is there anyone more fortunate than Madhavendra Puri? Well, if I look away from you, I would say no. And he's saying, what he experienced, there's only, and his heart, how exalted is Madhavendra Puri? His heart is like a mirror for the heart of Srimati Radharani. So he's saying only Srimati Radharani, Madhavendra Puri, and Mahaprabhu can taste this. And this sloka is the supreme sloka of Rasa Kavya. Ayi dina dayadra nata he matura nata kadabalakshase, etc. And then here it comes. Just as by grinding the sandalwood into the sandalwood stone, its essence comes out, and the fragrance becomes greater and greater, and more essence comes until it's completely converted. Saying, by continually meditating on this, it happens like that, more and more and more and more, unlimitedly, right? Until only the essence remains. Right? So, Mahaprabhu, we say Madhavendra Puri Sambandha Darajani. When he's going around, if he meets someone, Raghupati Upadhyay, or someone meets him, they're saying like, Madhavendra Puri, right? Yes. And he says, of course, only those connected with him can express these things. They know that. Right? But Mahaprabhu is traveling around, and we know ultimately, Nam Sankirtan for everyone, Krishna Barnam Trisha Krishnam, Sangopangastra Parshadam, Yagye Sankirtana Praye Yajanti Hisumedasa. It's mentioned by Veda Vyas in the Bhagavatam. Because remember, he's saying, telling these sages how horrible the world becomes in the Kali Yuga. And they're like, oh God, oh, no, oh. The people are so but they see Veda Vyas, he has a little smile on his face. Prabhu, why are you smiling? This is horrible stuff. He goes, yes, but as the world becomes more degraded, the souls become more fallen, Krishna becomes more merciful. I didn't tell you the good part yet. He becomes more merciful. And so, in the Kali Yuga, he descends as Gauranga Mahaprabhu, and Krishna Varnam, and he's always taking the name of Krishna. And what did he say? But another verse, Parambrajait. What is it? Huh? Yeah. Kaler Doshinide Rajan. So he's saying, what's wrong with Kali Yuga? If you were to catalog the faults of Kali Yuga, it would reach oceanic proportion. Kaler Doshin, it's an ocean of things gone wrong. Asti Heko Mahaguna, but there's one Mahaguna, great quality, that cancels all the inauspiciousness. What is that? Kirtanad eva Krishnasya mukta sangha param brajait. Through Hari Kirtan, Krishna Kirtana Nama Gartana Pro, they're doing, right? What is that verse in the Gita? Nutshell sloka about Kirtan. Anyway, so this one, Asti Eko Mahakunaha Kirtan Eva Krishnasya Mukta Sangha Paramajait. So it says, Mukta Sangha, not only do you get release, conventional mukti, release from all negative things, but parambrajait, you're given entrance into the service domain. That's through Krishna Kirtan, as distributed by Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, in conclusion, and I think this is the actual one. So Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur, Astasaki Tungavidya, says Yata Yata Gaura Padara Vinde Vindeta Bhakti Krita Punirasi Tata Tatot Sarpati Hridya Kasmat Radha Padamboja Sudamburasi. You know, we mentioned Krishna Karnamritam before. It's roughly 300 slokas in praise of Krishna. No wonder, as Radharani Mahaprabhu relishing that. But remember, Astasaki Tunga Vidya, like all of those in her line, they're going like, all right, those are the verses you could say in favor of Krishna. That's true. We like it. We sing it. We relish it. But I have another book you might want to look into. It's called the Radha Rasa Shuddha Nidhi. And there he gives roughly 300 slokas praising Radharani. Then you know who he belongs to. Right? And that's the one that begins with Nindantam Pulakot Karena Bikasam Nipa Prasunach Chevim Prodikritva Bujadvayam Hari Hari Uchay Vedantam Muhu Nityantam Drutamastru Nirjara Chaye Sinchantam Urvitalam Gayantam Nija Parasadai Parivritam Sri Gaura Chandram Nama. So the book in praise of Radha Rasa Shuddha Nidhi, the ocean of nectarine service at the holy lotus feet of Srimati Radharani, begins with the sloka in praise of Mahaprabhu. So, thank the Lord for the opposition, actually, because they make you more carefully pay attention to spiritual substance and reality. They eliminate that verse. They go, the Gaudias, they must have written this on there. The book is obvious, praising Radharani. Why do you have to start with the sloka in praise of Gauranga? That's how you know they're demons. They say, what? No, they're bridge bosses, or they're the most respectful people. No, when they say this, and you say, oh, I'm saying something you shouldn't be said, read Chaitanya Charitamritam. Kaviraj Goswami, if someone's presenting themselves as a devotee of Krishna, but they do not appreciate Mahaprabhu, they're asuras. That's what he says. I'm repeating what he says, but with a little more twist of the knife. He said they're asuras. When Saraswati Thakur would meet someone in South India, we did the same thing. You go to a town, in every town, there's some man who's supposed to be the most devoted, and favored, and you go to him, say, my dear sir, we want to have a program here. And they go, yes, and he'll pay for everything. They did that too. They did it long before we did. And so sometimes that man would be introduced to Saraswati Thakur and say, oh, I'm very happy to meet you. And I am a Ram Bhakta. Oh, and Saraswati Thakur would say, and under whose guidance? Oh no, directly Ramachandra. And Saraswati would say, acha. Then later he'd tell the devotees, he has no devotion. He doesn't nirmat saranam satam. He doesn't mention the devotee. He has no devotion. Dismissed. Right. So, they dismiss Mahaprabhu, we dismiss them. Full stop. But must begin with Mahaprabhu. And Gurudev loved this verse. This verse is on the veranda picture, it's the ISKCON picture of the Panchatattva, singing and dancing in kirtan. Bhakti Lalita knows. Gurudev said this verse is on display in that painting. Nindantam, and all when he is ecstatically chanting, his hair stand on like a kadamba, like the pista stamens of the kadamba, those little saffron. It's hard to describe. You have to see one. And interestingly too, that's when the ecstasy is going in particular. They're soft, beautiful, golden hair, like a kadamba flower. Nipa. It's a type of Kadamba. But when the ecstasy goes in the opposite direction, saying his hair, it looks like his body's covered in golden thorns. Thorns made out of gold, rippling across his divine form. Another type of ecstasy. But here, very sweet, that wouldn't be the one you put there. Like Nipa, this type of Kadamba, it's supremely beautiful. Right? And it's saying, what did you... And tears are streaming from his eyes while he takes the name of Krishna. And the earth around him is all moist. You know that when the earth feels very wonderful to touch, when it's a particular level of moistness. And that soil is saturated with the tears of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. And what are they doing? Surrounded by his devotees, Nityananda, Advaita, Gadadhar, Srivas, taking the holy name of Krishna. That's what he meant. That's his pranam sloka to the beginning of 300 verses in praise of Srimati Radharani. And one of which is Yasya Kadapi Vachanan Kelanota Danyati Danya Pavanena Kritartamani Yogendram Durgam Agati Madhusudanopi Tasya Namosta Vrishabhanu Bhubodhi Shepi. As Radharani says, Haripadanaka Koti, that we approach the lotus feet, but if you parse that, that's the least aspect. What's the least aspect of the lotus feet? Would be the nails. So she's saying, I consider the nails on the holy lotus feet of Krishna to be inconceivably, infinitely greater value than my own highest aspect of self at infinite magnitude. That's what she says. So Guru Maharaj has always said, through invert, those who express the greatest appreciation for the least connection, that's where you can trace devotion. So then that's what she says. What does he say? Krishna says that when Srimati Radharani is moving and the divine plane of service, when she goes by, her skirt creates a breeze. He's saying, if that breeze comes upon me, I consider myself to be supremely fortunate. So not even touching her, and I mentioned Charitamritam, he derives more pleasure seeing her and all these divine ecstasies being expressed by her than touching. It's the opposite of this world. That's why union and separation reign supreme. Apparently, like I told Shobhana Krishna like this when I said, because he knows something about photography, you have like depth of focus. So one is called infinite depth of field. You put that setting, everything is in focus at that setting. But the inversion, and what you see on all these modern smartphones and everything, is where the subject only is in focus and everything else is blurred. So in union, everything's in focus. But in separation, in union, one person, you're focused on that and everything else is blurred. But in separation, there's infinite depth of field. Everything becomes a remembrance of Krishna. Everything. So Radharani's looking in the environment, a breeze, a bird, a flower, something. She sees it all in connection to Krishna. And we're, under the guidance of our Guru Varga, trying to learn this way of seeing things, that everything can remind you directly or indirectly of Krishna. So Krishna says, if the breeze, so she says, I consider his toenails to be of infinite more value than my highest aspect of self at infinite magnitude. What do you say, Krishna? He says, If I get the breeze from her skirt upon me, I think I have inconceivable wealth. So then what does Prabodhananda say, Astasaki Tunga Vidya? If that be the case, and that is, then how great she must be, how great she is, then if Krishna says that, then I say, I worship the direction in which she appeared. So if it's that direction, he's saying that direction is worshipable. That's where I will take my position. The inversion reveal the greatest magnitude of heart and pramic depth is through this process. The greatest amount of eagerness, feeling for the least aspect. Not the other stuff is easy. Right? This is not, and this cannot be imitated. It's either real or it's not. So, Prabodhananda Saraswati, give your attention fully to the lotus feet of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Yata yata Gaura Pardara Vindeta Bhaktim Prita Punyarasi. Who will appreciate this? There's Krita Punya. Means same thing as Sumedasa, Sukritivan. Those possessed of sufficient Sukriti, or in Guru Maharaj's words, refined theistic intellect. That's what Sumedasa is. Refined theistic intellect. They'll get it. And those who are Sukritivan have enough Sukriti accumulated to start appreciating it. And he said, and then what will happen? Tata tatot sarpati hridya kasmat. Within the heart of such a person, what will manifest? Radha padam bodha sudambu rasi. The current, Radhe Vrindavan Adishe Kornamrita Bahini, the Radha Dasam, that current, that flow that's coming from the heart of Srimati Radharani, they'll enter that current and then spring out of the soil of Vrindavan. So Mahaprabhu, he's distributing, taking the Krishna Nam and distributing Krishna Prem to everyone, and internally relishing the position of Srimati Radharani. And this is Sri Gaura Purnima, and we should now sing the song Nadia Udayagiri Purna Chandra Gaura Hari. I cannot. So can you do this? Vaikanas Maharaj, can you do it? I mean, it's a yes or no question.
I cannot hold the tune.
The tune?
I cannot,
Nadia Udayagiri Purna Chandra Gaura Hari. Na 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 na. Right, but I'm just showing how the melody goes. So, Aviram, can you please sing?
Sure.
All right, then come forward. The moon has risen. Jai Gaura Hari, Gaura Chandra. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Avirbhav Mahamahosabhatiti Ki Jai. Sri Navaditam Ki Jai, Mayapurdam Ki Jai, Sachi Devi Ki Jai, Jagannath Mishra Ki Jai, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasati Gaur Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai, Jai Saparikar Sri Sri Guru Gauranga Gandharva Govinda Sundar Ju Ki Jai, Jai Om Vishnupad Sri Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai, or Makanchor. Can't he, one of you, please, start. Oh, okay. Jai Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai, Bhagavan Srila Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai, Srila Gaura Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur Ki Jai, Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Madhacharya Vrinda Ki Jai, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Sannyasi Vrinda Ki Jai, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Seva Vrinda Ki Jai. Jai Saparikar Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Radha Govinda Sundar Ju Ki Jai.
Jai.
Nitai Gaur Premanande.
Hare Hare.
And we stand up. Jai Srila Bhakti Bimala Abhadut Maharaj Ki Jai. Vijay Raman Prabhu Ki Jai. Please start.
Sata sake masa jivagun.
जय श्री प्रखार श्री श्री गुरु गौरंग राधा गोविंद सुंदर गिरधारी जो की जय जय ओम पात्र हम सब प्रचार्य भार्य सतसता श्री श्रीमान भक्ति सुंदर गुरुदेव स्वामी महाराज की जय जय ओम पात्र हम सब प्रचार्य भार्य सतसता श्री श्रीमान भक्ति रक्षक सिद्धार्थ स्वामी महाराज की जय जय ओम पात्र हम सब प्रचार्य भार्य सतसता श्री श्रीमान भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर की जय जय ओम पात्र श्रीला गौरा किशोर दास बाबा जी महाराज की जय जय ओम विष्णुपाद श्रीला सच्चिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जय जय ओम विष्णुपाद श्रीला जगन्नाथ दास बाबा जी महाराज की जय श्री रूपनुगा गुरु भागा की जय नवाचार्य श्रीला हरिदास ठाकुर की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय श्री बलादेवी जमुसन की जय श्री विश्वनाथ चक्रवर्ती प्रभु की जय श्री नरदामा श्यामानंद श्रीनिवासाचार्य प्रभु की जय श्री वृंदावन दास ठाकुर की जय श्री कृष्ण दास कविराज की जय अपार सदा श्री नित्यानंद प्रभु की जय तापत सदा श्रीमान महाप्रभु की जय जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपी गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंद राधा कुंद गिरि गोवर्धन की जय श्री लक्ष्मी वराहदेव की जय सुधा भक्ति विघ्न विनाशया श्री नृसिंहदेव की जय भक्ता प्रभार प्रहलाद महाराज की जय काशी महारानी की जय गंगा यमुना की जय गंधाराज श्रीमद् भगवतम चैतन्य चरितमृत की जय विश्व वैष्णव राजा